In this video, we will cover some true hitchhiker horror stories. First, I'd like to give credit to Eric Redding. Number 1. In the late 70s, my uncle was studying medicine at the University of Chicago. After a morning class, he decided that he would hitchhike back home to Lincoln Park on the north side instead of pay for a taxi. A man drove up in a Plymouth Satellite and offered my uncle a ride. The man looked normal and seemed friendly, lighthearted even, so my uncle got in the car and they started driving towards Lake Shore Drive. However, once they got there, the man drove south on Lake Shore instead of north towards Lincoln Park. My uncle told the man he was going the wrong way and to turn around and head north. The man looked at my uncle, put his hand on his knee and said, "No, son, you are coming with me," and smiled darkly at him. My uncle froze in panic, and when they hit traffic near the South Shore, he quickly unlocked the passenger door and ran away without looking back. A year or two later, on a cold December day, my uncle was having coffee in a cafe with my future aunt when he caught something on the TV that made his blood run cold. He saw the man that had picked him up from school that day the year before. He had been arrested for the suspected rape and killing of over 20 young men and boys. The man on the television was John Wayne Gacy, and he had removed the door handle off the passenger side door to prevent the men he picked up from escaping. Number 2. I was driving a shortcut from 29 Palms, CA to Albuquerque, NM. 29 Palms is located in the desolate high desert east of LA. The shortcut was all two-lane road through total nothingness, except for passing through Amboy, CA. Amboy is a nearly abandoned town nearly as far below sea level as Death Valley, with a dormant volcano and lava field on one side and a salt flat on the other. It was also, at the time, a hotspot for satanic group activity, so I was driving by myself in the afternoon. I stopped in Amboy and snapped a picture of the city sign, just to prove I was there to friends who dared me to take that route to I-40. I got back in my car and proceeded to drive up into the mountain range between Amboy and I-40. Once I reached the top, I am driving north through a canyon with high grass on both sides of the road. Up ahead, I see some stuff in the middle of the road. As I approach, I slow down to see a red Pontiac Fiero stopped sideways across both lanes. A suitcase open with clothes scattered everywhere, and two bodies laying face down in the road, a man and a woman. I stop 100 feet or so away, and the hair on the back of my neck is standing up. Being a Marine, I reach under the seat and pull out a 9mm pistol and chamber a round. Something seemed very wrong. It looked too perfect, as if it were staged. An ambush? Was I being paranoid? Something was just wrong. Getting out of the car seemed unthinkable. It was the horror movie move. As I scanned the road, I saw a line I could drive. Past the guy in the road on his left, swerved to the right side of the woman, behind the Fiero, and I'd be on the other side. I dropped it into first gear, punched it, and drove the line I planned. I passed the back of the Fiero without hitting it or either of the bodies in the road. I continued forward a couple hundred feet and slowed down so I could breathe and let my heart slow down. As I looked up into the rearview mirror, I saw that the two bodies had gotten up to their knees, and 20 or so people emerged from the tall grass on either side of the road by the car and bodies. At that moment, my right foot smashed the gas pedal to the floor and did not let up until I had to slow down for the I-40 East on-ramp. I will never know what would have happened to me had I gotten out of the car to check on the bodies or stopped my car closer to them. Somehow, I do not think it would have been good. Sometimes real life can be scarier than a movie. Number 3. It was 2001 and my friend and I were 17, both female, and driving back from a late movie to my house one night. I lived in a pretty rural area in Maine, about 20 minutes from the nearest town. As we were driving down the highway through the woods, we passed a median with a car sitting in it, facing in the oncoming direction, with all its lights off. Right after we drove past it, it flashed its lights, did a 3-point turn, and started driving behind us. We giggled that, "Oh, it must be a gang initiation. We're gonna get murdered." Because this was Maine, and that was obviously not what was happening. The turnoff for my road was a few miles away, and this car stayed behind us the whole time. We made the left turn, and the car kept going down the highway. Phew. But 30 seconds later, we realized that the car must have backed up on the highway and made the turn after us. Now we were getting a little worried. There was still one more road to turn down before we got to my house. This is way in the woods, and the car did the same thing, backed up and made the left after us. Now we were legit freaked. I had a long driveway, and the car followed us right into the driveway and almost up to my house, which had all the lights on because my mom was home. We ran into my house just in time to see the mystery car reverse back down the driveway and drive away. To this day, we still have no idea why that car was following us. If they thought we were someone else, or if they actually had bad intentions and only changed their mind when they saw that my house lights were on. Since we only ever saw the front of the car, we didn't get a license plate or a better description than a blue car. Number 4. About 15 years ago, my mom and cousin were coming home from visiting my aunt who lived 2 hours away. The drive takes you through the desert and up some mountains. But there is a shortcut you can take to avoid the mountains and shave about 10 minutes off your drive time. Only problem is the shortcut takes you literally through the middle of nowhere. It's a 2-lane road with nothing for 30 miles. No houses, no shops, no lights, not even those roadside emergency phone booths. They're driving along through the shortcut at about 11 p.m. when they spot something on the road. At first, my cousin thinks it's a rock, so she slows down to go around it. When she gets closer, she realizes it's a lady with long black hair and what looks like a burlap shawl wrapped around her. She's crouched down facing away from my cousin. My mom says that she thought the lady might have been in trouble, so they pull up next to her and ask if she's okay and if she needs help. My cousin says the lady stood up and looked at them and let out a shriek like a goddamn banshee. She insists that her eyes were pitch black and her skin was as white as a sheet, and she was really skinny, like almost anorexic skinny. I debate this because it was dark out and her mind might have been playing tricks on her, but nonetheless, it was enough to spook the hell out her and make her punch the accelerator and get out of there. The lady briefly ran after them, but they lost sight of her after a short bit. They didn't stop for anything, even running a stop sign, until they got to the next town where they stopped at a gas station to get something to drink and to collect their thoughts. A few weeks later, my cousin was telling her coworker what happened, and she said it might have been a skinwalker that she saw, and that she's lucky she got away. That spooked her even worse, so now she won't go through the shortcut. Even when someone else is driving, she insists on taking the main highway. Thank you for watching, and please like if you enjoy content like this, and subscribe to become a Rizzler today.